the decay of this nation, and I agree with you, Hannah, it begins at home. It begins with us stripping God out of everything. I mean, we used to, okay, and I was just speaking about this with a former teacher that was on a little bit earlier, Rebecca Friedrichs. We used to, when I went to school, and I'm just a smidge older than you, at 50, we said the Pledge of Allegiance and we prayed. And there was nothing wrong with that. I remember teachers having a Bible on their desk or in their desk. Students would bring a Bible to class. It wasn't a big deal. Now it's like they treat you like you're some horrific, evil person if you want to talk about God in a classroom. That's insane to me, since our entire nation were based on those principles.
That's right. No, and even in my book, I talk about how, the greatest issue I believe facing our nation is the breakdown of the family. I highlight a ton of issues, but the greatest issue I believe facing our nation is the breakdown of the family, collapse of the family to control the society. And if you look throughout communist countries, I mean, what are their two line of attack? So number one, God, and number two, the family unit. So if you can break down, if you can pit men and women against one another, and that's successfully what the feminist movement and what gender ideology has successfully done, is pit men and women against one another and make them the enemy, then you can collapse the family. And that's what we're seeing right now. And this is, again, a very strategic goal throughout communist countries. We saw this under the Soviet Union with a lot of liberation, free love movements, the same things that we're seeing now with the feminist movement and with the Democratic Party. It's no coincidence that they're trying to break down the family. This is very strategic.
You've been on the stage with the likes of General Michael Flynn and this old guy when we did some of those Awaken tours for Clay Clark. You're now writing a book that's coming out. You got a popular podcast. Can we just duplicate you times 10 million so we can have a bunch of young MAGA teenagers?
Well, hey, you mentioned earlier the polls, and I mean, it is incredible to see how many young people, how many women
got involved,
came out for President Trump this election. And
yes.
I think it's because they recognize, I mean, we've been lied to for the past decades upon decades, but over, the last 4 years, the 2020 election, COVID, January 6th, the open borders that we're seeing, the fact that Kamala Harris has said nothing about this human trafficking epidemic, the child trafficking epidemic at our border. They refused to even mention Laken Riley's name for weeks, for months. And I mean, they're voting to protect men's feelings over women's safety and dignity. And so women and young people are waking up that this is about the freedom of America. This is about the future generations. This is more than just who's nicer on the debate stage. This is about who's going to be the most feared candidate, and that's President Trump. And that's why I believe the youth came out for President Trump this election. So I'm excited, and I hope you're excited too.